On the CS, whom I met today morning, I'm actually supposed to be on a North Day, but he requested me to see him for breakfast, and I thought, wow, I'll have a good breakfast. Then he gave me two options. He was going for Keynote, I think we all read about it. It's a sad thing. He was going for a meeting on that, and he really wanted to come here. But I looked at the issues of Keynote, I completely did not comprehend them. So I decided, because this one has a written speech, I'll come here instead. And I have two observations before I read the speech, so that you can be ready. It's around 7 pages, but I read very fast. The first one is when Omari was speaking, he said, when you have any issues, you just need to go and see him, and he'll sort you out. I was sitting next to Grace, and she told me, no, you need to smile when you see him. So I think that's a correction on what he said. So we need to correct that. The second item is an observation, just like Harry. On the first time I participated in an IGF meeting, and the second time, at that time, it was the same crowd. And it started becoming boring because half of the time we would want to agree. Walu would not tell me off because I was his boss somewhere else. So the debate was not really as it should be at some point. I think that's the time we were coming up with Keynote. And I'm glad to note that today I actually can recognize quite a number of people. And the few people I can recognize, like Michuki, competing with me in terms of gray hair. So this becomes a bit worrying. Now, the most interesting thing to note is that during those days, we actually didn't have a lot of government in our discussions, and it was difficult to pull government into discussions. For example, the first IGF meeting, I just come from connecting 7 universities to a 512 kilobits per second link, and I was feeling great about it because they could get it, the email. Today, even in our own houses, I had 12K, not 10K, something you want to talk about. And we had challenges because we were worried about the bill. To get a .ke, I think Michael is here from CA, it was just a nightmare, the process you had to go to. We had to get an academic .ke. So I think we've come a long way, and having been on the other side where I used to really look at government as those useless characters, I think I've learned a lot in the last 7 years, and I'll put it down one day. Finally, let me turn my attention to the speech by the Cabinet Secretary, and I'm actually going to avoid the beginning parts of these speeches because we all know what they are. We acknowledge a number of people, and then I don't really want to read as if he's the one reading, so I'll pick a paragraph and try to figure out what he was going to say about it. If you allow me, because I still want to believe I've not gotten used to after 7 years, I've not gotten used to that way of doing things. The first thing is looking about is how internet is critical to modern society, and to underscore the role of internet in contemporary times and the commitment the government has. And I think from where I see it, there is a commitment which is evident. And I'll give you 1 or 2 examples of this. Because for one of the things we've come to agree is that government has to facilitate the rollout and the use of internet in this country, not only by being a user, but by actually participating in its rollout. And for those of you who remember, when nobody thought we would ever have cables in East Africa, we actually went ahead and removed the risk in the cables by investing the first X amount of $1 million to bring the cable and creating the environment which brought other cables. And actually even today, we are looking at how can we make it much more easy for people to bring in more cables and make Mombasa an internet hub or a pop, as it may be. And you'll be seeing a lot of activity in that. Again, here we're working very closely with the private sector, something which we've perfected. I normally brag nowadays that when I go for meetings on Team Submarine Cable, apart from taking tea and listening, we actually don't interfere with what the private sector, the different operators are discussing on that, which I think is the role the government should be playing. The second point is guaranteed constitutional freedoms. I keep saying that despite anything else, our constitution forces us to ensure that freedoms are espoused in everything that we do. And I believe even without any other laws, if we stick to the constitution, you'll find that we must open up to a number of things. And we're beginning to do this, especially with the two bills which are in Parliament right now. And hopefully, we won't wait for these bills to go through the whole process. And then we start wanting to change things when it's not possible to change things. So one of the clarion calls here is that let's be on the lookout. Let's try and see, especially in a gathering like this, what is it that you want these laws to have, so that we are able to change them early enough and to get our voices heard. The big question which is straight to answer here is the public participation in internet governance. The role of academia, civil society, technical community, business, and government in this whole endeavor. And I think there's been a commitment with collaborating with the private sector, with the civil society, as well as to ensure that the internet serves all. Two things which stand out clear here is that we've actually engaged, and especially from my organization, the ICT Authority, even when we were ICT board, till today, we've actually participated in IGF quite strongly. And although some of us have dropped out, we have a new crop of public officers who've been involved in most of the discussion in the IGF, which come back and influence some of the things that we look at. Further, whenever we are developing any documents which we need to guide the sector, we've always had the private sector fully involved, as well as the civil society. But I must say, from my own experience, is that I've always found it a bit wanting when we don't come out strongly with some of the things that we want done, and later raise them up when the ship has already bolted. I think we need to start being bold enough, because after all, there's nothing the government can do to you nowadays, apart from jailing you for a few days. We need to come out very strongly with some of the things that we believe. Because I meet people after the event, and somebody is telling me, no, we need to have done this. At that time, that's an informal discussion. There's nothing I can do with that. But let's come strong in some of the things that we need. Some of the good ideas which today we are trying to discuss it. But again, as Grace was whispering to me, there's some things which we are trying to do today, which we had talked about 3 years ago. But we don't push them strong enough. At the same time, there is the KEPSA presidential roundtable, which comes every now and then with quarterly ministerial meetings. It's actually another very good avenue where we can be able to influence some of the things that we want to influence and get our voices heard. The fourth item that I picked from these notes which I'll be giving to the organizers is the universal access principle. What are the attempts that the government has made to ensure that through proper governance, everybody has access to internet? I think this is something which will always have to evolve. But we believe that one of the things we did is to try and not get into the space of operators, but complement what operators do. For example, by rolling out fiber backbone for the country, our hope was that then operators will be able to leverage on that to be able to deliver services to people at a much lower cost. Or let me put it at an affordable cost, because it can never be low enough. I would say we've gotten it right. Now we've gotten it very wrong, but we are beginning to try to correct that by trying to convert NOMBI to an open access network, which again we want to deploy the model of teams where we bring in the operators who are the users to actually participate in its management. We believe that will result into a higher uptake, as well as the bigger the numbers, the lower the cost of running the cable, and we hope that benefit will be passed on to the users. At the same time, we are the tail end of finalizing a critical infrastructure bill, which has been influenced by the fact that For us to be able to get proper universal access, we have to start protecting what is already being done. Because there's no point of an operator putting in a cable or putting in an infrastructure, and tomorrow that infrastructure is either vandalized or destroyed because other developments are coming in place. And I can see the only time I'll agree with my colleague from Safaricom is when they say we want to protect that. Because everybody talks about costs. So that's an area we've worked on a bill the last few months, and we are almost at the tail end where we need to finish to finalize it and get it institutionalized that it can be implemented. And we are trying to look at where is the best position to position that so that it has maximum impact on what we are trying to do. That said, there's also some risks which we need to address in this as we claim to get more and more connected. And I think nobody knows this better than myself, especially some 2 years back. Every morning I woke up, I used to call the security team and ask us, now what is down today? What else are they eat? And this is an area of cyber security that we need to really address. We are improving with time. Appropriate legislation, again, what can we do to kick up? Do we need a cybercrime bill? And all these other bills which are in Parliament. So those are the things that we need to keep watch. Policies, is it time we look at our policy again and see what we need to change? Long ago, as a person, I used to argue, we did more and had more progress when we didn't have a policy. But when we got a policy, we slowed down a bit. Maybe we need to be working without a policy. But again, maybe we need to update our policy so that it can capture in the new things that we talked about, like innovation and the rest, and how we can make them sustainable. An area which we've always not looked at and which we need to look at more critically and start getting tangible results in capacity is in the area of capacity development. In these, I don't talk about the education. I think we are very well educated. But what has struck me of late is a skills gap. We need to really build skills for us to be able to support and even do better than what we are doing. Regional cooperation, I think we've, one speaker talked about that. Inappropriate use of internet, I think we really have to agree that even as we use internet, there are rights and responsibilities which you need to espouse. I think one of the things which comes out very clear here is when we go to the internet to spread hatred and other things, which we need to come down as hard as we come down on when we don't have the right infrastructure. I talked about management of critical infrastructure, protection of minors, which I know the CA is doing a lot of work in that area, and they'll be talking about it sometime next week as well. Then, of course, we need to build trust for us to build a digital economy. And trust, I think, is earned rather than gotten that easily. It's gotten by demystifying some of the things we talk about on the internet. I tell you, we've been meeting different stakeholders as we try to re-energize the digital literacy program of integrating ICT to schools. And I didn't know that among ourselves, there are those who actually wouldn't want to see ICT in schools because they don't believe it's going to do, they believe it's going to do more harm than good. But after sessions of discussions, we are beginning to get a common ground on how we can do this in a better way. The call to action here is, again, just to reiterate what Leona talked about, is on digital content. We need to start seeing more content out there. And I think we've talked about the local content policy that we are developing. And what we really mean by that is that we want to see more participation of old people here in that space than it has been of late. We can't emphasize more on the appropriate internet use, and as well as collectively managing the risks that come with being more connected. But again, we cannot say because there are risks we won't get connected. Because by the end of the day, we want to optimize the use of the internet, facilitate access, enact appropriate laws, and spur the growth of the internet to benefit both our socialized as well as our economy. I think I've summarized all the points that the C has had by also not reading through the entire speech. So thank you very much, and I'm sure you have good deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Victor, for those remarks that you innovated from the minister's speech. Now we are almost ready for the next session, but before that, I just wanted to do two things. All the people who were in the first Kenya IGF, please stand up, or heard about it, please stand up. The first. See? So those are the people. Those are the people you need to mingle with and ask them about the history of the IGF. Thank you very much. Okay, so we have room for just 3 questions. So are there any burning questions that you need reaction from our panelists? Okay, so you line up there, and just 3 questions. Please state your name, your address.
Okay, well, Beko is my name, lecturer at Matiangi University. Just a question for Victor. He kept talking about the bills that are being finalized, but maybe because of our multitasking, I didn't get the names of those 2 bills, and perhaps where can I get the drafts of the same? Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Michael Mronge. I work with Google. Okay.
Lord.
I'm not to Google as I would have to say. But just to bring to the attention of Victor, because he's representing the minister and also to the community in ICT. There's a bill that is being considered actually by the East African Legislative Assembly. And this is called the East African Community Electronic Transactions Bill of 2014. It hasn't really gotten the prominence and consideration that within the community which I thought it deserves, because it's very impactful in terms of what it proposes for the ICT, not just in Kenya but in East Africa. I know there's a consultation meeting that was done here at the Grand Agency, but I think within the community, probably many of us missed the communication. So first, for the community to know that that is happening, I think they said the second reading is coming up in the Legislative Assembly on sometime in August. But one of the things that generally it's a bill to foster e-commerce in East Africa by giving recognition to electronic transactions, much like what we did several years ago. But they also have a clause on intermediary and data protection, which I think the community needs to know so you can engage. So Victor, I think if you can answer this or you can take it to the minister, is I think we did, our participation as Kenya has been not very vibrant. I think probably because the East African Assembly probably did not properly give us ample notice. We just became aware of a meeting happening at the Grand Agency, and those of us who could send comments did that. If there's a way we can get some extension of time beyond asking directly to the Assembly for us to engage, because this bill is very important, then we can do it. But we appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, my name is Moses Okini. I'm from the Institute of Software Training. My address is IAM House, the 8th floor. My question is very simple to Mr. Omari. It's about you have a target of 1 million, but still the use of .k is very low. So I was wondering why is it? Why do you think is it because of poor marketing? Is it because of poor PR? or is it because it's expensive, or is it because of perception? You know, sometimes as Kenyans, we don't like using Kenyan whatever. I remember when Safaricom was moving the M-Pesa system from Germany to Nairobi, some people were like, oh, now it will be easier to ask Safaricom, not to be there. So that kind of, so maybe if we find out why, if we're not using .k, we might be able to increase and meet our target of 1 million. Thank you.
Okay, I think what we're going to learn is data protection and freedom of information bills. And we discussed earlier, so I believe copies still exist. And most likely, as soon as they mention that they'll be circulated, we'll make a point. Actually, one of the things as an authority we are going to do is to coordinate meetings so that people can discuss them at that stage. The other bill which we are proposing is a critical infrastructure bill. It's actually on our website, and it's on the Ministry of Information website. Because I know you make a lot of noise, I'm going to send you a copy. There is a team actually in our ministry which is working on the East Africa bill. I'm going to reach out to them. Let me own up, I also looked at it at graduation, and I felt it has some clauses which need to be looked at. A bit more carefully. I think that's why most of us need to look at it, because it at least one or two areas will contradict the Kika bill a bit. And we need to be a bit careful with that. And I think that's why we need to pay attention. But I'll pass your message. The beauty of being a representative is that you don't answer the hard questions. You take them back with you.
Thank you. First of all, I like the opening our .k. That's good. Now, the reason why there's a low uptake of .ke are multifaceted. First of all, it was the price, but in January this year, we addressed the price issue. We are giving the registrars at a lower price of about 680, and we have a recommended retail price of 1,000. On that, I think there's a challenge of communication, because last week we participated in the GES forum at KICC. We were given at one question which you got. There was a registrant who had bought a domain at 12,000 still now. So that was shocking news. We will be, in the next 1 or 2 weeks, we'll be in the media. We'll be on the trend, and when you see a Kenyan trending, please, on Nation, on NTV, we'll be on the trend. Please follow us and tweet positive. But I don't know the rest of it. So we'll be there, and we'll be clearly talking about the price. The other issue is about the perception of security. ICTA can tell you the .ke is one of the most secure domain compared to the others. It is here, I can tell you when we come to hacking history. It is here, and I've also seen Michael Katundu here for CA. So they can confirm .ke is more secure than the others. The domains which have been hacked, .ke is on the bottom, the others leading on the top. So it's perception of security. Michael can attach to that as the in charge of security. And another thing GTLDs were here before. You see, people are used to .coms before the fight which Michael and Victor, when they know how it was a long fight to bring .ke to the country. So as they were trying to bring it, .coms were the norm. Now we have rebranded, we are back. Those perceptions will address them. The GES also opened our eyes, because when somebody told us what a domain at 12,000, that was shocking, because our price is now below the .coms. Our price is below the .coms. So the registrars will be having a very serious discussion with the registrars, because they have given them a advantage of price, and they are not passing it down. So I hope that addresses your issues. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think the panelists deserve a round of applause.